Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
Yeah, Tasman asked for a fun fact, and I've gotten a lot of mileage out of that, but obviously my mom wasn't a great nun, since she didn't last very long, but she was a nun. I'm really excited to be here today. I am Fiona McGovern, and we will be running through a few things. Who am I? Feelings on AI I thought was a good place to start. I think everyone, I know me especially, have a lot of complicated feelings on how things advance, how they go, and how much of it is good and how much of it is terrifying. We'll jump into SGE, which we've heard a little bit about today, but more specifically, what is generative AI, how it's changing the SERPs, and what can we do about it? So a little bit about who am I. Tasman obviously covered some of this. VP of Account Management at Conductor. I've been at Conductor for over 10 years, so quite some time. Originally from New York, but based out of London for the last 6 years, and complicated relationship with AI. More specifically, if you're not familiar with Conductor, it's an organic marketing and SEO platform that allows you to do everything from A to Z when you're thinking about organic search. So before you create content, understand what people are asking, what questions they have, through to optimizing and updating content. And over the last 2 years, we've acquired 2 new companies, both Content King, which people may have heard of, and Searchmetrics out of Germany. So a lot of different capabilities within the technology to help you do what you need to. So my feelings on AI. Kind of alternate between amazing and alarming, but starting with amazing, obviously there's a ton of really great things that AI can do to advance the world and all of our experiences. Starting with earlier disease detection, I think this is personally my favorite. When we think about analyzing x-rays and mammograms, gives us better opportunity to analyze that data and have earlier detection and more accuracy. Helping people with disabilities communicate and connect more easily. Both speech to text and text to speech recognition gives us the ability for people with speech impediment impairments to connect and really have better communication. Early warning systems with climate change and understanding like scary things that are happening in the world, knowing before and preparing accordingly. Removing language barriers, so being able to connect people who don't speak the same language more easily through technology, huge advancement, and of course, transforming education. So a lot of really, really exciting things that we can look to in the future that are going to enhance our overall world and our ability to improve things, generally speaking. But it's also a little scary. There's a lot of really crazy things. I think the biggest thing that people have talked about, especially over the last few years, is the don't take my job, how many things can be automated and rolled out and replace people and change economies quite quickly. So that's a natural one to start with, but it gets worse. There's the obviously potential when you're analyzing large data sets that include bias and discrimination for that to scale. Ooh, geez, ouch. For that to scale and then be a wider impact and much bigger issue across, it's fine. Yeah. Across a lot of different ways that people can incorporate that bias and discrimination that takes it out of large models and makes it an even bigger issue than it is. Autonomous weapons, that's terrifying. Uncontrolled superintelligence, so thinking about robots taking over the world and wiping us all out. And of course, the privacy nightmare. I think deepfakes for me personally are the scariest. So a lot of really crazy things that can happen as things evolve. So looking at both sides. But I think the major thing is that no one likes change. This can be a little alarming, but we'll be okay. Probably. And then taking it a step further. So when we think about AI and search, it's really taking a step into what is generative AI. Obviously, we've heard a little bit about this already from both Gerald and Diane. So taking it a little further into what is generative AI, it's actually the ability to create entirely new data, starting with training on the data. So analyzing the large data models, training on that, learning the patterns that exist within that data. And as you learn the patterns, be able to generate brand new content based on what you've analyzed. and generate new things, including art, paintings, sculptures, music, create realistic images of things that don't actually exist. I don't know if anyone's been on that site, thispersondoesn't-actually-exist.com. It's terrifying because it's just faces of like very, I don't know, human-looking people that's generated by AI, but they don't actually exist. And of course, improving the quality of existing images, videos, or new versions of things that already exist. So I think understanding generative AI is a really good, important step when we're thinking about how we react to this, how we plan for it, and what we do going forward. And then how does it bring us into SGE specifically? So SGE, and what is it? Obviously, we've heard this already, but just to reiterate, it's a new way that Google is using AI to enhance the search engine results page. So whenever anyone hears that, it can be quite alarming, right? We get comfortable with how the search engine results page looks, what type of results are there, what answers do we have, how does that all change and develop, and we have a little bit of time to address. But when things change as drastically as they are, it can be quite terrifying because we don't know how to react. We don't know what it does to our rankings or to our overall results. But we've been scared before. There have been a lot of times throughout the last 20 years. I don't know how many people have been doing SEO for 20 years in the room, but if you have been doing it for at least 10, 15 years, you'll be very comfortable with a lot of the changes that have rolled out. So I created this timeline of fear to just remind us that we've been there before. There's a lot that has changed and ways that we've needed to adapt, starting all the way back in 2003 with PageRank, and then Panda, Penguin, Mobilegeddon, RankBrain, so on and so forth. A lot of different times. So SGE is just the newest and most relevant opportunity we have to understand that things are changing and evolving, and there are ways that we can be prepared in order to just have a better experience moving forward. I think one of the major things and consistent themes when we think about the evolution of Google and the overall SERPs is that they're always considering what is best for the consumer. How can they have a good experience? And the more that we keep that at the forefront of everything that we're doing, improving the quality of the content, making it easier for people to find answers to the questions that they have, is ultimately what is going to make the experience better, make organic search more important, and allow us to continue to evolve. So don't be too scared. So things are going to change, and you're capable of adapting. We have a few different ways to walk through this and talk about how do you approach SGE and make sure that you're prepared for the future. We looked at this already, but I think it's really important, obviously through Diane, to think about what does the SERP look like today? What are we comfortable with? What do we see? And once you start generating that AI example, what is the result that we get? If you haven't tried this yet, I highly suggest that you do, because the more comfortable you are with how things could look in the future, the better it's going to be for you to, be prepared and understand how things will change, how they'll evolve, and obviously react appropriately. So we have on the left-hand side what is the best breed of dog. As we're generating, then we get the result with the AI overview around more detailed answers specifically on the best breed of dog, telling you, hey, the best breed of dog depends on your activity level, your lifestyle, all of these different things, and then gives you a snapshot into the different breeds and a little bit about them. So helping you answer that question, again, directly within the SERP, doesn't require you to click in further to get this information, but really just thinking about, again, I think this is a better experience than that on the left, but it's just about being prepared and making sure that you have content that allows you to address and answer these questions appropriately. So yeah, if you haven't, I suggest experimenting with it, using a VPN, whatever you can do to test it out. Of course, things are going to change. As they do, what it looks like today likely won't be what it looks like in the future, but the more comfortable we get with these updates, the more prepared we'll be. Personally, I think the best breed of dog is a Shih Tzu. So I disagree with the result, but we can't always agree. So cute. How do we tackle it? So what do we do to make sure that this is something that we're prepared for? This is, again, just another evolution of SEO, which we all should be quite comfortable with, that things are going to change and we need to be prepared. And the most important thing to start with is specificity. make sure that you have specific, detailed content to respond to the questions, queries that you are, most responsible for. So just be very specific. Google's looking ultimately at providing the best answers, and the more detailed and specific you can be on what that answer is, the more successful you're going to be. Authorship. We've heard a lot about EEAT. Authorship is incredibly important. This is the way that Google allows us to validate, why should I be listening to you? Like, what authority do you have? And how can you make sure that Google understands that you are an authority, that your content is important, and that the person providing the answers is worthy of your attention? And then real estate versus rankings. We've talked a little bit about this as well, but really, really important to consider that as a SERP landscape changes, it's going to impact your rankings. So you have to be comfortable with that, even though it's going to be uncomfortable for sure to start. And understand that it's more so about the overall real estate of the SERP and not just the rankings. So to Diane's point too, I think internally when you're communicating changes about traffic or rankings in general, just make sure you're prepared and aware of how this will impact you. So not only paid organic, but social, obviously, which Cheryl touched on, knowledge graph, and rich snippets. So jumping more specifically into the specificity, taking it back to the dog example, what is the best breed? Within this same AI-generated result, you'll see that you're getting, obviously, a detailed answer directly within the SERP without a click. You're also then getting a citation link to US News for more in-depth information. And when you click into that, which I think is most interesting, you're taken directly to the passage that's answering that question of what is the best breed of dog, and it's highlighted for you. You're not wasting any time reading through a whole article looking for ultimately the answer that you want. It'll bring you directly there so that you have it within a couple of clicks. So it's really important when we're thinking about that specificity and answering those questions. If Google is going to shift directly to one section answering that question, you need to be really careful about the content you're creating, that it's optimized in a way to really answer the question. This is from our product at Conductor, where you can actually pop in a query and a page and do the research on understanding what questions should you be answering in this content in order for this page to be ranking for this query. It'll give you, again, questions that other content that are in the top spots are answering in order to perform well. So hugely valuable to be able to have this insight and understand people are really asking for very specific questions. If I'm doing meal delivery, is it really saving me money? How much money is it saving me? What's a healthy option? Does it help me lose weight? All of these really good things, being really specific and tying that back. Authorship. How Google understands who your authors are. So number one is who is the person or the expert creating the content? Why are they an expert within this industry? And why are they an expert in this topic? So this is really important. This is what Google wants to know. And the way that you can answer those questions are in very detailed, honestly, kind of basic ways. So you can create an author page. Who is this person? Like, why should I be listening to them? Give me background to understand who they are. Link to a LinkedIn profile, to a Wikipedia page, and to other publications that they've created, and of course, author schema as well. This helps Google understand who this person is, why we should be listening to them, and validates that they're obviously aligning to EEAT as well. Does anyone know Patrick Reinhardt? He's our VP of Digital Strategies at Conductor. He hosts our monthly webinar. And he really has exactly this, an author page on our site to his LinkedIn profile, the other content that he's created, so that you can understand this is why I would listen to what he's saying. He's been doing this a long time. He's, a trusted resource. And of course, all of the key things that can validate and reinforce that as to why this is going to be important. So specificity, authorship. And then finally, real estate versus rankings. So it is very uncomfortable for things to be changing, especially if we are reporting on our rankings regularly and we see big drops, big changes. It's going to be uncomfortable. But it's really important to just understand how the SERP is changing. Get comfortable looking at the different views and how things could evolve, and be aware of where there's opportunity to capitalize on other real estate opportunities that maybe you don't own today. Rich snippets, people also ask, organic listings. In this instance, SGE is right in the middle between paid and organic. Here, it's up at the top, and then we have the paid, organic, and rich snippets. And finally, here we have the citation links, the appropriated content. And I think really interesting, again, hammering home on that specificity. This video has a timestamp. Not wasting any time, you get the result, you can go directly to the portion of the video that answers a question that you've asked. So really, really great. So the questions to ponder about your digital experience and how you can actually respond and evolve and make sure that you are hitting on those key points. How much of your SERPs do you own? Do you engage with customers outside of your .com? If so, where? If not, where should you? Again, hammering home the point that Gerald made, there's a lot of opportunity to connect across a lot of different channels and a lot of conversations that you want to be a part of, because ultimately Google's going to zone in on what's most important and what's most beneficial. So really making sure that you cut out the noise and get into those conversations. Who are the experts in your organization? Do you have an author page? Have you highlighted their experience? Have you done that work of making sure that you're validating who they are and why they should be listened to? And do you have video assets? Where are they hosted? So there's some answers here. Obviously, all the slides will be shared as well, but knowledge graph and rich results when you're thinking about how much of your SERPs do you own. Social, publications, outside of just your own site, how can you engage? How can you be involved? How can you provide answers to those questions? And social, people also ask, and publications, and of course, video content. Make sure that you own your own video content and you're part of those conversations as well, because if not, it's going to be YouTube or TikTok answering those questions that you're involved in those areas. And then with all of that said, I think one key point that Diane mentioned as well is that all of this is changing. What it looks like today, we don't know what it's going to look like in the future. It can change and evolve, and it may look entirely different by the end of this year or early next year. But the more you can get involved now and look at the SERP, get comfortable with it, and see how it's starting to evolve, will have you more prepared. So key takeaways, calm down, we'll be fine, mostly. Specificity will be key. Authorship will continue to grow in importance. And of course, real estate versus rankings. The more you can be prepared and comfortable with the SERPs changing, with your rankings changing, and how we should respond to that is going to be really, really important. And focus on these things and we'll be okay until the next thing. Something else will come along and it'll change or evolve and we'll be terrified then, but it'll all be okay. At Conductor, we historically have used this slide, I think for like 10 years, a long time in the SEO world. But it basically allows you to think about there's no algorithm that really matters, only the heart and mind of your consumer, your user, the person looking for answers online. And the more that you put them, their heart and mind at the core of what you're doing, at the content that you're creating, at the things that you're building, is how you're really going to be successful, because things will continue to evolve, but that's really the most important thing. And thank you. I'm Fiona.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Demand Sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.